And even on Shark Tank, I told those guys there's 7 people lost at sea and lost hikers a day. All day, every day. People are lost. So everyone, it's not an unfounded fear. When you see the massive size of nature and you get into it and you can see how things can go wrong so quickly. And one of the things I pride about this technology, no batteries, chemicals, or electronics. Nothing to go wrong. And again, I wasn't the best business guy for making money, but I don't care. I, in my mind, unequivocally solved the problem. And that is making yourself large enough to be saved, to be found.
Welcome into the Fit for Radio podcast. I am your host, Drew Tiedemann, and as usual, we are at the beautiful Stafford Hills Club as the smoke has completely dissipated and the blue skies are back. And you can tell because the families are back out at the saltwater pool enjoying themselves. And just a little bit of summer left. You want to get in where you fit in. And even when the smoke was here, you were able to hide out inside here. Such great facilities, indoor tennis, workout facilities, and of course the classes. Check them out at staffordhills.com and tell them Drew sent you for half off of your initiation. Got a great guest in here today. He is a geochemist and volcanologist, inventor and big wave surfer, not to mention the fact, rough water fisherman, and so much more, and even has an invention that the U.S. military and DARPA funding is all involved in, helping create technology that saves lives. And the man has even been on Shark Tank. Welcome into the show, Dr. Rob Yonover. How you doing?
Hi, Drew. Thanks a lot. Great intro. Appreciate that.
It's great to have you. You've done some great things. You've had a seasoned life so far, with plenty more action in front of you. Now, you did invent something that's really cool that we're going to get into and what led to you being on Shark Tank. But let's just back it up a little bit. Before the inventions and the accomplishments, take me back to what life was like before everything changed. What was life like when in the early days of being a husband and a father?
Well, I mean, it's always a challenge to be a husband and a father, but it was great because my partner was really cool, and we were best friends for 3 years before we ever went out, which was laid the foundation for our relationship. And I was a surfer. I came from Miami. The waves were tiny. The women were mean to me, and I got an offer to go to Hawaii. I went with my wife, so it wasn't the women. It was kind of a joke, but I visualized Hawaii my whole life, growing up in Miami with 1-inch waves, and I got to Hawaii to get my Ph.D. working on submarine volcanoes. And being a surfer, I came over here with a couple boards, and that was 43 years ago. And I've gotten to where I used to say 1 foot a year, I'll get bigger and bigger waves. And then at my peak a few years ago, I was surfing 30-foot waves, 30-foot face waves. Whoa. And I'm still, at 67 years old, still surfing 20-foot face waves. And I've got my boards are 11 and a half feet long, pointy, big wave guns. So I'm really into it. And I paddle 2 miles a day on days I don't surf, just to stay in shape so I don't drown. And I do free diving during the paddle to simulate getting tumbled. So I'm really kind of a maniac. So all that was happening while inventing was happening and while the PhD was happening. And the idea came early on for the streamer, my invention that went all the way to the military, SpaceX, Shark Tank. But it was just brewing in the back of my mind while I was getting my PhD. And I thought of it in 85 before you were even alive. And here we are like 42 years later, and I'm still working it. And, it just shows you that if you have a good idea and you believe in it, to keep going. So that's where I'm at on that one.
That's really cool. And I will say, maybe it's the high quality lights and the cameras in here, but I was alive in 1985. Yeah. I was born in 81, 45 years young over here.
Okay, there you go.
So when you moved to Hawaii, it was just you and your wife at that point, I'm guessing?
That's right. And we kind of got married in Florida, and 2 weeks later, we drove across the country, shipped our car, stayed with my sister in LA. And, I used to tell people we're on our honeymoon forever, and The bummer was she got sick. We had kids. They were 4 years old and 7 years old, and she started limping while she was training for a marathon. And it turned out to be multiple sclerosis. Within a year, she went from limp, cane, walker, wheelchair, and she was paralyzed for 19 years, completely paralyzed. And I took care of her and raised the kids, and it was quite a journey. That's a whole other aspect of my life, but that was in the background on everything I've done. That was what was happening.
Yeah, and I think it's an important part of your story too, because I'm a dad 3 times over, and the ecosystem with mom fully functional, being able to maneuver around the house and all that it's a big part of it. So I think it's commendable for you to kind of step into that role for such a long time.
Exactly. I mean, it was never a choice for me. I never wavered, really. And we had a little townhouse on the water, so I had to carry her up the stairs. It was brutal. I mean, physically brutal. And she also had the type of paralysis that she could feel everything. So if she got an itch on her toe, I had to itch it at 3 a.m. So I didn't sleep through the night for 19 years. And that was the bad part of it. The good part is she could feel everything, so we were still sexually compatible and active. So that helped us keep it together.
Yeah, that helps for sure. And that's got to be tough for her too, going from training for marathons, which means that she was an active physical person.
Absolutely. She was an athlete, and of course it was brutal, and to see her decline, but I had to keep propping her up physically, emotionally, spiritually. And the beauty is the kids. The one saving grace was at least our kids didn't get sick. And I kept telling her, you got to stay around, because she wanted to check out for the kids. And she could live through the kids, and we could be a family. It was a modified family. We did different kinds of things. We had dinner parties in the bedroom. We had, it was just different. But we were a solid family all the way through.
Which is impressive. Now, your kids were young when this all happened. As they grew up, did they just become the normal for them? Were they?
Absolutely. My son used to pop wheelies in the wheelchair. I mean, it was just another toy. And that was just the way mom was. And we tried to normalize it as best we could. So we'd go to parties, and she was real self-conscious about the wheelchair. So we would go early, stash the wheelchair, and I'd put her in a camping chair or the best chair on the party. And you couldn't even tell she was paralyzed. She was beautiful throughout, except when you saw me feeding her or moving her. But other than that, and she could talk, and she never lost her mental acuity. So all that stuff was good.
Well, it's very commendable. It's also must be tough on you, not just the emotional part, the physical part, but also financially, the toll that takes.
Unbelievable. For someone to make 50 or 75 a year to spending 50 or 75 a year, that's 150 in the hole right off the bat. Without kids, the high cost of living in Hawaii, it was brutal. I mean, I barely hung on. Barely. I kept refinancing our house, and my house became the bank. And luckily, back in the days, you could do that easily. And I was so far in debt. I finally dug myself out of it, but it was brutal. The financial is not many people talk about that. The reality is, if someone's paralyzed, they need 24/7 care. Okay, so we could barely afford 6 hours a day, and we were getting people off Craigslist that were sketchy sometimes for $20 an hour just to give me 6 or 8 hours off a day. I still had 16 hours a day where I was on, including the night. So it was brutal, absolutely brutal. But it was rewarding as hell, and it was beautiful yet brutal. And it's hard to explain that to people. But I became part woman. I became her body. I became her arms and legs. So I don't think anyone's ever been closer in a relationship than two of us on every level because of that.
And that's amazing because, my wife and I were very close, and I know for a fact that I would be dedicated to that myself. But it's also, it's a lot easier to say than to follow through on. You said that you never wavered and that you were, deeply in love. It's got to be tough, though, just because of there's got to be some woe is me, or there's got to be a why me.
Absolutely. I just to paraphrase that, I never wavered. She completely wavered. She was suicidal, tried it a couple of times. She wanted to get rid of me. She wanted me to go live my life. She wanted me to get laid, all with other people, all these things. So yes, she was wavering pretty much the whole 19 years, except the last 5 years she grew to accept it and was happy and didn't want to fight it. She was fighting for her life. So she was chasing rainbows, like this cure. This Russian acupuncturist was telling her that she could help her, spending all her money, going all over the world trying to find, chasing rainbows. And it was hard to get in the way of that because it was her rainbows that she needed to chase. So I was in a really tough place and a lot of different issues. But I never wavered because I saw the big picture. The big picture was the kids have to come out of this as healthy and normal as possible. Period. End of story. I can be beat up, and I was. I mean, at the end of the 19 years, I was a shadow of myself, but I was still chugging along. And the focus was the kids because they didn't deserve to be messed up from this. It's just what happened, and they're stronger people for it. My kids are amazing, and they're both happily married. I got 3 grandkids now. It's awesome. So, you know, I'm in
That's
the game again.
incredible.
Yeah.
So at the end of the 19 years, walk me through that a little bit. Is it the disease took its toll, or how did things end there?
The best way to describe it is that she died at 55, like almost 10 years ago, and she looked like she was 85 at that point. It was like Benjamin Button in reverse. She aged quicker than me, and her body just couldn't take it. And even the diagnosis, there are 3 types of MS. The minor part one, the relapsing remitting, the moderate one that comes and goes, and then the primary progressive, which just keeps getting worse. And that's what she had, unfortunately. So it was just, I thought she'd live 5 or 10 years. I never thought she'd live 19. So to me, it was all gravy. I was so happy she made it that long because the kids were 26 and 23 when she passed away versus teenagers or, which would have been much more difficult. So
yeah,
that was a blessing. And she still, her hair was long and beautiful. Even at the end, she still was vibrant. And one of the little weird inventions I came up with was there's a pedaling machine for under your desk for people at work. It pedals your feet, which is, I don't know what the exercise is, but for a paralyzed person, she showed me, she found out about it. I bought one of these machines. I put her in a camping chair, strapped her legs to the side and put Crocs on her and locked the Crocs into the pedaling machine. It pedaled her legs for over 10 years. We did this. We burnt like 20 motors out, and I calculated she pedaled around the earth a couple times. That's how much. And it prevented atrophy. It got her to see her legs moving, and it was incredible for her mental state. People would come over, they'd be talking to her, and her legs are moving. And she was beautiful. She had a beautiful body, and it kept her all feeling sexy and vibrant. So that was the way that invention kind of helped us. And you kind of invent what's in front of you,
And I have failed to ask your wife's name.
Cindy. Yeah.
Well,
Cindy.
I think Cindy was very lucky to have a guy like you willing to go for the long ride. During that time, were you actively doing your work on volcanoes?
Yes. No, I got my Ph.D. before she got sick. Let me think. Yeah, that's right. She was fully pregnant with our first child when I got my Ph.D. and finished it. By then, my invention was starting to take off. So I was fully engaged in working my invention and all my other inventions and writing books and all this stuff. The beauty of it was I was self-employed and I licensed my invention for 15 years. So that took a lot of pressure off me because I got coveted mailbox money. I got guaranteed royalties every month. So I had a set income. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. And that was key to freeing me up enough. The other key point to my personal survival was the fact that we bought a townhouse on the water here, and I was able to take an hour break and paddle into the ocean a couple miles every day, on days I didn't surf. So I always had a break going deep into nature, and that absolutely reset my clock, reinvigorated me for the day to get all the tasks done, which were massive, to get her fed, bathed and put to sleep, and the kids, the whole thing. It was a circus. My one buddy came here and he goes, I've never seen a busier human than you in my life. And
Yeah,
I wouldn't have disputed that.
it's a lot of action. And I do think that the ocean, especially a Hawaiian beach, it's like a therapy dog, right? Like,
Absolutely, it is, and it's even deeper than that because it was not. I don't even like the beach. The beach is something I cross to get into the ocean, but I just jump off my dock and paddle out. I got a 20-foot string in my pocket, so I get out a mile. I tie it to my lay down paddleboard, and then I do 51 breath free dives to simulate getting held under on big waves, and then I do all a medley of swimming. So it's such an immersion into the ocean, underwater in the ocean. And the thing about prone paddleboards, which is what they call them now, lay down paddleboards, they're so efficient and light that it feels like you're always getting pushed by a wave, like a little 6-inch wave. So it's really a fantastic, under-recognized sport, and something that absolutely saved my mental health and my physical health too.
so at what point do you come up with this invention, the thing that'll eventually take you to Shark Tank?
Right.
Where does this come into your mind?
In fact, right the year we got to Hawaii, my buddy, another grad student, was a pilot. He rented a plane. We were flying to Kauai, and I looked, and the plane sounded like shit, like it needed a tune-up. I don't know if you've ever been in a Cessna, and if you're over a big ocean, all you see is blue. I'm like, Jesus, this if we crash, I started thinking about it, going, this thing's made of metal. It's gonna sink. I could probably swim to shore, but not everyone else. And then I started researching them, and they have smoke signals, flares, sea dye marker, all these things, but they're all short lived. They all go away. And even EPIRBs, if you know where the guy is, if you look down, next time you're on a plane, look down, look out the window, whether you're on land or water, it's the same problem. If you're hiking and you get lost, your head is so small. Your head's as big as a coconut floating in the ocean or a rock on a hill. So I started thinking about it a lot, and it really bugged me. I'm like, there's a huge problem in the technology. There's a huge gap, and they've had all those technologies for 100 years. And then I flew to Florida to visit our families, and Christo, you ever heard of that guy, the artist? He wrapped these islands in Miami with pink plastic.
Okay.
And we banked a turn coming into Miami International. We flew over this pink plastic, and I go, oh my God, that's so visible. So that was the grain of the idea. It took me years to figure out the segmentation. I put spreader bars in it, so I make it like a centipede. It won't twist up. It's like every 3 feet there's a flotation spreader bar. So when you go in the ocean and trailing behind you, it won't curl up and twist up. You can see a piece of the orange plastic behind me. There's little white spreader bars right there. So that was the key to the patents, but that's still late that was the patents were a couple of years after I thought of it. I mean, this has been a 40-something year project. And then, my brother was in advertising, and he taught me about work in the media. And, he said there are editors wondering what to write about every day. So I started a campaign I made a 1-page press release. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of a fax machine, but that's what was.
Remember, I was born in the beginning of the 80s. I have definitely.
Well, maybe for your audience or whoever. Anyway, this fax machine. You ever heard? There's another thing. You may not remember this because you were a little kid, but phone calls were cheaper after 11 o'clock. Do you remember that? Especially in Hawaii. So I would stay up till 11 and take my 1-page fax press release, and I went to the library. There were 2 books: Bacon's Publicity Checker, which is all the newspapers, magazines with fax numbers, all the editors, and then World Aviation Directory, which is the equivalent on the military side. I would just all night, for a couple hours a night, send that 1-page fax. And I'm a fisherman too, so it's like fishing. I put 100 lines in the water. I finally caught a fish. The Miami Herald, ironically, wrote about it. And so what did I do? I took that article and sent that out 100 times. And now, 42 years later, I'm still doing that. I get some good press. Now there's internet, social media. So I keep working the press. The thing that people won't tell you, which is obvious, is when you have an advertisement, it costs a lot of money. And it's one-sided. It's you telling everyone how great you are, your product. When someone writes about you, from the third part, it's a third-party endorsement. because they don't, they have no skin in the game, so they're just writing about it to expose it. So getting external press and coverage has been key and I would advise that to anyone building any business. If you can get someone, even your local paper, anyone to write or talk about you, even on the internet, social media, anyone to talk about you that you're not paying, that goes a long way. And then the Navy, I finally got someone in the Navy to look at this, and they liked it. They said, "Hey, let's give it a try." And they did some testing, and the Navy loved it. They go, "This is the only passive and discretionary continuous signaling device. All the others go away."
So for people who don't know about the device, because we haven't really explained what it truly does, and
okay.
And kind of like what you were saying before, that your head is the size of a coconut or a rock in the ocean or on a mountainside, you've developed a way to make your footprint out there when someone's looking for you much larger.
Exactly. Well said. It gives you a 40-foot or 25-foot orange tail. And there's no orange tails in the mountains or the ocean. So when someone's looking for you, there's an orange line. It's a line pointing to where you are. And it's simple. I mean, I invent stuff as a surfer, waterman, fisherman. Stuff breaks in the ocean in your boat. I over-designed it in terms of simplicity. The one mistake I made, which I'm proud of, is it never wears out. So the one I have on my boat's 30 years old, 40 years old. And it's like, okay, I don't care. It costs me money. Some of the fighter pilot one that has flashing lights, that's the only one in the product line that has a renewable source of income. Everything else is you buy it once and forget about it. And I'm proud of that. I don't care. I'm not a business guy. I'm a scientist. I'm an inventor.
Why can't the tire companies think like you, Rob? I need a 30-year tire, but it's pretty commendable and it's nice. Here's the thing that I love about that is that when it's something that's built to save your life, it's not about profit margins. When that thing needs to work,
exactly,
it needs to work.
And I met a couple of guys that it worked for. So a couple of military guys and a local diver, and they came up to me and they thanked me for saving their lives. And that was the best feeling in the world. And even when I got on Shark Tank, I tried to relay that story to them, and they didn't give a shit. I couldn't believe it because they're all about the money. So.
Well, I care about that, and I want to ask you about it. The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Motorsport Hillsboro, where they have the easiest and best financing, and of course, an incredible selection of whether you're looking for a motorcycle for the road or the dirt or a side-by-side, they've got you covered. They also have all your water sports and everything else in between covered. But today we're talking about incredible electric mountain bikes, and the deals are on right now at Motorsport Hillsboro. The Gas G Light Trail 2.0 electric mountain bike is there right now at up to 60% off. You'll save over $3,000 off MSRP on this brand new bike that'll have you hitting the trails like never before. Go faster, go harder, go up the big steep hill to get to the view. It's all right there at Motorsport Hillsboro. Check them out today, and the easiest financing around at motorsporthillsboro.com. Also brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. All things water and waste are covered over there at Axiom, and any job in the Portland area or Vancouver, they got you covered. Doesn't matter if it's a big job or a little job, and 10% off your first service when you say that I sent you. Let's get you that discount with a good quality company, or save up to $500 off a new water heater. It's all right there. And the cool thing is, this is a locally owned and operated business, not private equity. You want to meet Bruce and the gang, who will take care of you just like he has my own family. See everything they can do for you at AxiomPDX.com, or give them a call at 971-431-4810. AxiomPDX.com. Because I do want to know about that, the people that it's helped. And you did mention that Shark Tank, they're on a limited time. They've only got a few minutes to talk to you, and they're not necessarily the most empathetic people you're going to run into.
That's right.
for you actually have experienced meeting some of the people that this helped to save?
Yeah, I was at a trade show, and a couple of military guys came by. And they don't like talking about it, and they're actually not supposed to talk about it because it's a military operation. But I think they were in Afghanistan or Iraq, but it had to be Afghanistan because I don't think you get lost in Iraq back then. It's a lot more desert, although it would work on the desert or the snow. So it works everywhere. You can look.
Yeah.
I don't know where they were, but it sounded like Afghanistan because of the brush and mountainous. And they just said, if you know military history, if you look back to Vietnam, they used to pop purple smoke as a signal for them to get picked up by a helicopter. The problem with that is the Viet Cong knew that. So when they saw purple smoke, they waited and shot the helicopter down and shot the people. So it was another application where if you had a streamer and you outlaid it, no one would see it except the people above. So there's another application. And that's what these guys in Afghanistan did. They laid it out, helicopter saw them, came in and extracted them. That was one story. And then I was at another type of trade show where civilian divers were there. And this guy got lost free diving off, I think it was in Kauai. And he came up. This is very common because scuba divers and skin divers come up and the boat is a much different position than when you left. So he got lost at sea a little, started getting really nervous, and they were looking for a while, and he remembered he had the streamer. So he got creative, and he put it up on his spear to give it a little more vertical. So he, those are the stories I know. Now, in the military, there's 30 years of them buying it. I don't know how they've been using it, but, they keep buying it all over the world. So, it must be acceptable to them.
It's one of those deals where, and we have the beacons and stuff like where people go and hike. Mount Hood is a good example here in the state of Oregon where people summit the mountain, but we lose hikers all the time. And I think that it would be a good thing to have in your pack.
Absolutely.
If you get in a pinch, because especially on snow or if you're on a glacier or whatever, I feel like the contrast of that color, that orange against the snow would be pretty recognizable.
Exactly. And it's such a little thing. Here's the small one. It's like a little holster.
So it's like the size of an energy drink.
Exactly. So, and I tell people, that you buy this as a gift for your loved one if you want them to come back. It's kind of a half joke. If you don't want your husband or wife to come back, don't buy it for them. So, and the other thing, we've targeted women more because women seem to be more safety conscious and smarter. No offense.
You're not offending me. I knew that.
Right. The guy would rather buy a 6-pack, another 6-pack. So it's a nice piece of gear. It's sexy and it works and it's foolproof. That's, my early mantra was no batteries, chemicals, or electronics. There's nothing to go wrong. It's a piece of plastic. And, I like to degrade my own product with that statement, but it's also putting it in the pantheon of simplicity and great ideas. The best invention of all time is the wheel. How simple is that? The wheel's pretty. And Velcro is my other favorite one, where the guy was looking at stickers that were sticking on his socks. He looked under a microscope, and it's a hook and a loop. And that's the thing that really drives me in my inventing is biomimicry, where you mimic what's in nature, because nature's had billions of years to evolve and get to these solutions. We're a bunch of idiot monkeys trying to figure out everything. Why not look to the master? The master is nature.
And I definitely think simple is better. If you are listening to this and you want to see the invention, you can go to YouTube to check it out, as they are right behind Rob right now, laid out in the water and on a mountainside there.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the process of Shark Tank, what it took to get on there, because you are a great self-promoter, from the fax machines to, you're on my podcast right now. I'm the 2026 fax machine.
You're you're as hard to get on as Joe Rogan. So yeah.
So if I guess, how does that process go? Did you have to reach out to them?
There was no insider deal at all. People think maybe I had a connection. I had zero connection. They had an open cattle call in Waikiki at a hotel with 400 people. And me being a surfer, I'm like, you know what? I'm not sitting in the sun in a parking lot in a 400-person line. So I cracked it. I went at 5 a.m. So I was 7th in the line, and I got to wait at the beginning of the line, was in the hotel. And, I know how to pitch sound bites. I know kind of what they're looking for. Now, I didn't even have someone to help me, so I had to ask some of the other contestants to unfurl the streamer and go back into the hall, into the demo. They give you 5 minutes to demo it, to pitch them. Not even 5 minutes, 1 minute. What are you about? And I knew I hit all the valid points, and they kept writing in a red pen and circling or asterisk. I'm like, okay, I got a shot. But then it took months of sending videos back and forth, and it was just incredible process. And, I signed a 50-page agreement. I'm not supposed to talk about a lot of these things, but I go to the edge of it. I'll talk a little about it, how they make the show. I could talk about the show, but how they make the show.
Yeah.
So, and there's no secrecy about it. I'm the first to tell people. I was talking to a guy last night that's saying, oh, yeah, it's bullshit, isn't it? They cut this, cut that. I go, no, it's not bullshit at all. You go in there, you stand on a spot for 40 seconds and do a stare down like a boxing match because they want your reaction. I've never seen Mark Cuban in my life. I got to look at him. And this was the hardest part for me. I had to sit there and shut up for 40 seconds. And that's hard for me, as you can tell. So I just got in there and, it's a straight pitch. It's like me and you talking. I was in there for like an hour. There was no producers saying, hey, cut, that sounded good, say that again. Nothing. There was no one there. It was just me and the 5 sharks talking and a million cameras, and it was cold in there. They let you go in before to check up your display. And they warned us it's going to be cold and loud when you go in there because it's in between takes. They don't want them falling asleep, which makes sense. And I got in there and I see Mark Cuban. He's got like a little apron, a makeup apron on him, and someone's touching up, and he's on his phone. It's the first time I've seen him. And there's Mr. Wonderful, and I'm kind of laughing at these guys, and I'm getting revved up. I was a basketball player in my college and high school days. I kind of get revved up I'm a competitor heavily.
Yeah, you were juiced and ready.
Oh yeah, and I was just jacked up, and they didn't even know. They didn't even look at me because this was in between the set. So then I got out there, and I'm looking at my set, and sure enough, the song "I Like Big Butts" is playing. Which I thought was a sign from God. Which it was just a funny song. It made me laugh and it made me relax.
Yeah, it takes the edge off.
Right. And I was like, they didn't do that on purpose. It was just a soundtrack. It just happened to be the song when I went in there. So, I went in there and just kind of, and, Mark Cuban, he didn't even want to talk. He liked the streamer. They all liked it, which was really great. They loved it. They thought this is going to save lives. This is great. You're great. You know a lot, but none of them invested. They thought that maybe I did too good a job. And they're saying, we can't help you. You do it. I go, yeah, but you guys have connections. We can get a mandate. And Mark Cuban kept talking about volcanoes because I think he's bored out of his gourd, and that's probably why he retired from the show last year.
Yeah.
So he's tired of talking about whatever knickknacks people are selling on the show. And I'm part of the Shark Tank. We have a group of people that have been on it. We're in this little club on
That's
Facebook.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. They're cool people. But for him to meet like a scientist and I went down 2 miles deep in a submersible to work on submarine volcanoes for my Ph.D. and he was blown away. And finally, Mr. Wonderful goes, stop talking to him about volcanoes. He goes, I could talk to this guy all day. So it was really funny. I said, give me a call, and I winked at him. I've never winked in my life. I just figured out that
well,
was
I know.
appropriate.
You got to have to tell Mark Cuban, I'm willing to come over for a barbecue if you want to talk about these things.
You call me. I'm still waiting for him to call, but he hasn't called yet.
I'm sure he will at some point.
It's okay.
Make sure to download the brand new album from Audio Dub called Filter. It has not left my playlist ever since it came out. You can catch it on all your favorite platforms, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, whatever it is. They've got it on Amazon. Go check it out. Share it with a friend. They're going to love it. It has that summertime feel. And remember, everything else to do with the band, check them out today at audiodubband.com. Also, the Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. Everything to do with water and waste, they've got you covered. They're the people that we use in my family. And if you tell them Drew sent you, 10% off your first service. And Bruce and the gang are great. Locally owned and operated, not private equity. And if you call this number, 971-431-4810, you can back it up and write it down if you want. And that will give you the discount. And I've got you covered. We want to make sure you're getting a good deal and you're finding good quality companies to work with. And that's why we are bridging the gap here. Check them out today at AxiomPDX.com. Also brought to you by Motorsport Hillsboro, the one-stop shop for all of your outdoor toys. And I love Motorsport Hillsboro because they are set on getting financing for anyone possible, the easiest and best financing around. And right now, they've got an incredible deal on the Gas G-Lite Trail 2.0 electric mountain bike, which is going for $21.99. That's 60% off and saves you over $3,000 off MSRP, but they will not last. Check them out today at motorsporthillsboro.com. And finally, brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. Incredible facility over here. I'm sitting in the suites right now where work meets play, but right outside, people partying, enjoying the splash pad, the burgers being grilled by that saltwater pool. So nice. On top of that, the amenities are next to none. The world-class tennis facility, indoor and out, and much, much more. A place where people gather and a sense of community at Stafford Hills Club. Check them out today at staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. So no investment from them.
Right.
What was the ask? What were you asking for?
I was asking, and I think I made a mistake. And they kept warning me, my producer kept warning me saying, don't ask for too much or value it too high. So I thought I'd go the opposite way, ask for only $200,000, still a lot of money, and 20% of the company, which values it at only $1 million. So they were like, why are you valuing it so low? Because we went through the licensee. The funny part was after I showed it to them, they go, that's great. Wow, that's really interesting. They thought it was like a high school science project. They said, you got any sales? I said, yeah, 15 million. And their heads almost blew off because that was over 15 years with my licensee where we had lobbyists and we had a whole team and did trade shows all over the world. But so that was surprising them. But once they heard that, then they looked at the 200,000 and the 1 million valuation and they said, this is too low and it's going to take more money. And it just gave them an inroad to going out. The other thing is, because I was talking to Mark Cuban about science, and it took a while for them to understand this, which is really shocking because it's so simple. But, it's that I think you could tell it's a TV show. Even though no one was telling anyone what to do, you could tell how they went out. And for that reason, I'm out. So they had to come up with a little line because that's what's going to be shown on national TV. So I just saw that happening, and it was kind of frustrating. I couldn't believe it. I mean, when they first went out, I'm like, oh, really? And then when the second person went out, I said, oh God, they're all going out, and I could feel it. I'm like, okay, so it's okay. And then they took me to the back room after, and I just said thanks, no problem. And my buddy said the best. He goes, you kind of looked at them and said, hey, you're lost. I'm like, okay, you guys don't want to be involved in this. You don't want to feel what I felt when someone thanked me for saving their lives. The best feeling I've ever had in my life, one of them. And they're like, it didn't register as much as making money fast. So when they did a post appearance interview, they take you into this back room right after. I'm just still kind of, my blood's curdling a little. It's like God damn it, those guys.
So are you more angry or sad about it at that point?
I think I was angry because I just couldn't believe it. But it wasn't like, and my producer's going, oh, you did great. And I'm like, what? She goes, John, that was unreal. You did great. And, they did the post interview before she said that. And they go, yeah, you're disappointed. With the cameras rolling, there's a little separate camera crew in a back green room kind of place.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm disappointed. They'd rather, invest in cupcakes than saving lives. I really nailed the essence of the show. The camera crew loved it. They laughed and dropped the camera. And of course they never put that in. But that was funny. And the other thing I got in there was a couple things I wanted to get in. One is, as a surfer, I wanted to be recognized as a big wave surfer on the North Shore. So I put it in right after my ask. So I knew they couldn't cut it. And then they said, who do you want to demo your product with? And I go, I want Mr. Wonderful. And I said, because that guy gives shit to everyone, right? And this weather woman from Hawaii, he called her a deer in the headlights about to get crushed. on national TV, and she was like suicidal after, because I was in the van with her, the loser van flies you back. They drive you back to the they drive you back to the hotel near LAX to fly you out of there. But and I'm telling her, I met with her in the morning. I go, don't worry about it. You're young. It was on no one's going to remember what he said. You just were on there. So I picked him before that happened, but I knew his history, and I knew he was short, and I knew he was bald. So I figured, and nothing against bald or short people, but I knew that if I demoed it to him, he'd have to come up to me to start unfurling it, so I could look down on his bald head, and I knew they would make I knew they would make a joke out of him walking out of the room. And sure enough, Damon said, "Keep going, get lost." So it worked out.
That's
And
awesome.
it was good. And, since then, it's been several years. TikTok, someone picked it up and posted it, got 16 million hits, my pitch. Last year, someone on YouTube picked it up. It got 58 million hits. It was so it's the highest hits ever for a Shark Tank thing. And rerun. And I'm like, and I started reading some of the comments, and they were so funny. One guy said, this guy, man, he made $1 million with a fruit roll up, which is funny. That's kind of. And then the one I like, another guy wrote, this guy, what did he say? The one I liked the best was, this is the most confident guy I've ever seen on Shark Tank, and that was gold to me. I wish I had saved those comments, because the guy had to take them down.
You know what's funny is I've got an intern here who goes to the University of Oregon, and I mentioned that you were coming on the show, and I told him about the invention, and he's like, he immediately remembered it from Shark Tank. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to go to YouTube and check it out. He's like, oh, that's the guy. So he actually remembered this segment from a live version of the show. So maybe it is one of the most memorable moments.
Well, I think what happened also was there was a bit of an outcry after on social media. They were giving all the sharks shit because they didn't invest. And if you watch the show, there's like one segment each 15 minutes out of the hour. The other 3 segments, booty pants that make your ass look higher for women, wine sippy cups so they can stick in the grass and while they're watching sporting events and drink wine, and a backpack that's hard to cut into. They all got funded. I was the only one on the hour that didn't, and the people online went nuts, and they had to defend themselves, like Mark Cuban and Lori, and they didn't write. I don't think they personally wrote back, but their people wrote back. Oh no, we love the streamer. We loved it. We just didn't feel like we could help him. All this bullshit, which is okay. But the reality is, I'm glad. I am not then, and they won't let you go on the show if they think you're doing it for PR only. But I am genuinely glad that I didn't get funded, because I'm an old guy. I don't need Mark Cuban's 30-year-old aide asking me every week, how are sales and why aren't you going to this show and why are you still making them in Hawaii? I don't need that shit. I don't care about money like that anyway. And it worked out.
And they didn't necessarily know what they're talking about, except for those booty pants. I'm wearing a pair right now, and it's Compliment City, Rob.
That's funny.
I want to ask you. Now you mentioned something about space. Well, actually, before I get to SpaceX, I just wanted to say, just in a quick answer, of the sharks, I know you talked to Mark the most. Which one was your favorite?
Well, by far him. We connected immediately, and it's just he was smart enough to recognize the technology of the invention, but also understanding and being interested in my background and going that much further into being genuinely interested and conversant. He could hold a candle to me. Those other sharks, they're not. I don't want to put anyone down, but they're not that smart. I mean, everyone thinks they're like brilliant people, and they're good at what they do. Mark Cuban is generally a smart guy. So
he is.
But they were all respectful. I liked them all, really. They didn't. They could, if you watch it again, they're all Dr. Rob. They were very respectful. It was almost like I was teaching a class on life saving, and they were like pupils that didn't want to get in trouble. The only thing is, when the quiz or the test happened, they all scurried out. But
so tell me about SpaceX. What happened there?
Again, in my part of a SAFE association, which is this international group of life support, life surviving technology for the world's militaries. And over the years, NASA, all these people come through there. And again, because I'm older now, I kind of hear my father talking. He goes, "Oh, that punk kid. There's a punk kid." Some kids walk by, young guys or women come by the booth, and I talk to everyone like they're somebody. And some guys go, "Ah, we're from SpaceX," and they go, "Oh, this thing looks pretty good." I go, "Cool. Here, grab my card, and it's a great thing. You guys should use it too." And I didn't think much about it. And then a couple of years ago, when they were doing the first manned SpaceX flight, I got an email going, "You got a material data sheet on that, on the streamers to see what's in it?" I go, "Well, what do you need that for?" They go, "Oh, it's going up in 2 weeks on the on the mission." I go, "Really?" They go, "Yeah." So it's under the ass of every astronaut, which is a
Wow.
huge thrill of mine. And just the backstory is when I was getting my PhD, I wrote a grant and got a fellowship to work at NASA, Johnson Space Center. And I wanted to be the first human to be in inner space and outer space because I went 2 miles deep in the ocean in Alvin, the submersible
Mhm.
off Galapagos. And at the time, NASA, and I saw the astronauts. We used to go eat lunch in the pool by the pool where they were training underwater at NASA, and they had a program where they were taking scientists up there. But that's when the Challenger blew up. So that was the end of scientists going up. So my dream of going to outer space was dashed, but I got a little payback in SpaceX. I didn't go, but my invention and my DNA, I test every streamer before it goes out. I do the final check. So my fingerprints and DNA went up to space.
Nice. And
That's as close as I'm about to get.
it's pretty cool. It really is.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now, before we get going, I first of all, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm really excited about your invention.
Our pleasure.
I think you'll continue to save lives for a long time, and even if they buy it today, they might save a life in 30 years because of the longevity of the product.
I'll be dead. I'll be dead and gone, and it'll be saving lives. And that's probably when it'll be mandated too. But I don't care. It's still a good thing. I think it's good karma.
So what's next for you? If you're looking out in the next 5 years, what are you looking? What does success look like?
Well, I've never stopped. I have other life-saving inventions. I have a portable desalinator, a pocket flotation device, an inflatable rescue board, video search and rescue. These are all technologies that were funded by the military that are in various forms of completion. And I've written a bunch of books: Hardcore Inventing, Caregiver Survival Guide, Hardcore Health, and a children's book, Brainstorm Islands. I like creating. I'm a creative guy, and I'm going to keep doing that. I write a lot. I got these crazy stories from when I was a pool boy in Miami, and I got my teeth cut on the ocean and the dream of Hawaii and surfing. And I tried. I mean, it helped me publish those other books, but no one really wants those stories. So I said, screw it. I'm going to put them out for free. So I put them out on Instagram and Facebook, some of them, and people loved them. And the venue, the medium is great because you can throw pictures up with the words.
Yeah.
So I really like to write, and I even wrote for Psychology Today a little column about caregiving, and they want to get just the nuts and bolts and the emotional side. So I see myself. I want to keep writing, keep creating, keep inventing, and first and foremost, I want to keep surfing. There was a great movie called Surfing for Life. It was about these old guys that are surfing into their 80s or 90s. And when you get really old, your bones get brittle. So you can't wear a leash on your ankle. They wear a leash around their stomach so it doesn't snap their leg. So that became the belly leash to me. And that's the goal. I want to get so old and decrepit that I can still paddle out in 100 and surf. And, the thing about surfers, we're all kind of like frothing addicts. So like there are waves, we drop everything and go. So
that's awesome.
So I'm still jazzed by that. I'm like a teenager still on surfing, and I love that.
And I think it's amazing. Anyone who listens to this show on a regular basis knows that I do 1,000 push-ups a day. I ride a bike every single day, and then I work out 4 times a week. But that 1,000 push-ups is my way of living forever with all these kids of mine. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I'm 45. That's my youngest. So it's going to be a ride, Rob.
Of course. Well, I'm back in the game at 67 with 3 grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep going.
No, and I get them every other day. I go get them, and I extract them and show them the ways of old time. I used to be Uncle Punishment. Now I'm no electricity grandpa. I don't take them anywhere with electricity. So we're all in nature or the ocean and no devices. My other claim to fame is I've been against smartphones since Apple One. This is my phone.
Wow,
okay?
That thing is from the turn of the century. That's incredible.
Exactly.
That's a fax machine right there, Rob.
Exactly. I got a fax machine in my pocket, and I got a PhD in all these patents. When I give talks to kids, they all think, "Oh, smartphone makes you smart." No, it makes you stupid. Because if you're following idiots, you are an idiot. You are what you scroll. So, and I do it on an iPad. I like it, but I'm already an old guy. For young minds to get bombarded by bullshit, it's really sad. So I'm on a quest to get rid of phones.
So, Rob, before we go, where can people go to buy your invention and to look at your other stuff?
Yeah, just go to Amazon, Sea Rescue Streamer, or Rob Yonover. Go on Amazon, it has my books or the streamer, and it's on social media also. I go by my name. I've got a unique name, Yonover, so there aren't too many of us. So Rob Yonover, I'm on. That's my handle first.
Awesome.
LinkedIn, so Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
all the stuff. Yeah. Well, we'll be keeping up with you, and I cannot wait to see what you do next. You're a great conversation, Dr. Rob Yonover on the show, and keep saving lives. All right, bud.
Thanks, Drew. I appreciate it. That was fantastic.